I recently placed an order for only rayon fabrics and I'm going to open this up with you. We'll also be discussing what styles are the best to sew with this type of fabric. It will be really practical. I'm sure it will help you pair your rayon fabrics to your patterns, so stay with me. Hi sewing friends, I'm Karina from liftingpinsandneedles.com. Welcome to this channel that is all about sewing, limitless sewing, and today is a little bit about fabrics and about the way you pair your favorite fabrics to patterns that you really want to sew. Sometimes it can be pretty straightforward, but there are certain aspects that I take into account, such as sewing techniques, design features in the garment, and some styles might not work for some fabrics. I am focusing today on 100% rayon. It is a fabric that is amazing for hotter climate. It's really breathable, it's soft to wear, really floaty, and just beautiful to touch. It can be digitally printed, so you could find really amazing vivid prints. You can also find them in solids, and it is one of my favorite fabrics. I do have quite an extensive collection of these. Stay with me till the end when I'll be opening this up and showing you the new ones I have. Now, as you know, Love Notions is running a spring sale that is 40% off site-wide. I really would like to motivate you to sew woven patterns, and Love Notions has quite a few of them. So I'll be going over them and just discussing how these could work with rayon, if I've made these with rayon or not, maybe some of the features I would consider adapting or features that I find are amazing in rayon. So it'll be super practical for you. I'm gonna go over the tops and dresses first. One of the pretty dresses that Love Notions has is the Tempo sundress. It's a really bra-friendly type of bodice because the straps are really wide. It's going to cover your supportive bras that you wear. Those of us who cannot afford to wear really thin straps or use strapless types of bras, a sundress that has that wide strap is amazing, and I love the Tempo dress for that. Now, have I made it in rayon? I sure have. Mine has this really interesting print and I had a lot of fun playing with the placement. You can find amazing prints in rayon, and that's what I love about it. Now, one thing I would consider with the Tempo, because the bodice is semi-fitted, I would consider self-lining it with the same type of fabric. So that is the way I sewed my Tempo, to have a really nice sort of more structured, crisp look right up here. If you use cotton or linen, the fabric itself would give you that structure and the facing inside would be fine. In my case, I find that just having the facing and the really lightweight rayon there on the bodice wasn't going to be structured enough. So I went the extra step of self-lining, which meant I just cut 2 of each for the bodice. I even made the shirt panel double at the back, so everything's doubled up on the bodice, and I'm really happy with that. The other different thing I did for this to work really well with rayon was that I fused interfacing all along that sort of sweetheart neckline there, all along the front for both the main and the lining, which were the same fabric anyway. I went ahead and blocked fuse the wide straps also to give them a little bit more structure, or else I thought they would just turn out a little floppy. If you don't want to line your bodice, just make sure you block fuse your facings and you stabilize the top here of your main bodice pieces. I think that really makes a difference in how flat and beautiful this looks, not just by preventing gaping and stretching out and all of that, but just giving this area a little bit more structure with interfacing, because rayon has a zero structure. It's a really drapey and flowy fabric. Those are the things I did to manipulate the fabric to work really well with this semi-fitted bodice that the Tempo has. Now, rayon is amazing for the skirts. You can choose between 1 or 2 tiers. If you are concerned that the gathers are going to give you extra bulk on your midsection, it's not. Rayon presses really well, gathers lie pretty flat, and so you'll be super fine with your concerns about volume, you know, with this type of style. Another pattern for woven is the Ballad Blouse, which is amazing. I love this pattern. It was released last year. I made 4 versions back then, and I actually made my 4 versions with rayon. So I used different types of rayons. One was just the plain common weave that is really lightweight. For others, I used a rayon linen blend. And when I mention rayon linen blend, the one I find locally here has only 14% linen and 86% rayon. So it's majority rayon. It's really drapey. It's a little heavier weight than the just plain weave. They are still all lightweight materials, and they just have amazing drape, and I love working with them for blouses. Now, if you are newer to sewing and the button placket that is rounded looks a bit daunting to you, I would suggest you maybe mix your fabrics and use a cotton shirting for that. Have a contrast color like I have done. In my case, I used linen for those curved areas for some of my versions, and I think the sewing process, it can be easier that way. Otherwise, if you want to make it fully out of rayon, you can, and I have. I would just always suggest block fusing or your placket pieces or that you need to interface. Block fusing is the way to go so that you don't need to be dealing with pieces that are deforming on your ironing board, slippery types of interfacing that you can't put together into the same shape it was originally. So I highly suggest block fusing at all times. Also stay stitching both of those back necklines. There's yoke pieces, so doing that directionally from the shoulders to the center, and also this slanted area on the front here, because at some point it just goes straight down. The straight edge of the neckline, you don't need to stay stitch that, but the curved area I would suggest. The Ballad has super beautiful types of sleeves, and some of these features are really great for rayon. One of them is a short sleeve that has gathers here. It doesn't end up being hugely puffed like those sleeves from the 80s. If you do it with rayon fabric, it'll just be really nice and delicate. Same as the longer type of bishop sleeve. Perfect with rayon. It will just flow beautifully and it won't stand away from your body, and everything will just look really delicate and not bulky. Usually rayon has a lighter type of tone on the wrong side of the fabric, and just because of the way that the curved button placket is sewn on, you might see the wrong side of the fabric peeking at the seam line if you don't understitch. So I highly suggest you understitch for techniques like this. Look at my Ballad Blouse video. I have a video showing you how to sew this neckline, and you'll see the understitching there really clearly. This Ballad Blouse has this curved type of button placket. It is one piece. You sew it onto the wrong side and then you flip it over to the right side, and so you can see that the wrong side of the fabric is right on the edge there. You can see some of the black peeping through, and that's because I've understitched. If you just fold it forward and top stitch, you might be able to see on the edge part of the wrong side. So that's why I'm such a fan of understitching. I think it does a great job. Mentioning this for rayon because rayon is usually a printed fabric, and you'll see that the wrong side is either a lighter tone. Some types of rayons I have bought have been actually black with prints on the other side, so definitely it will be different. Unless you're using a solid color, then it will be the same on both sides, but just take that into account. The next pattern you could definitely make out of rayon is the compose robe. If you are going into hotter weather and you want a really lightweight robe for your summer weather, I haven't made one in rayon actually, but I've made one in a poly satin, which would have a similar feel and drape and flow. Definitely you could make it out of rayon. The only thing I would suggest you take into account also is that if you're wearing your robe open like you usually do, when you move around and walk, you might see the wrong side of the fabric, so make sure you're happy with how the wrong side of the fabric looks. Otherwise, if that really disturbs you, choose a rayon that is the same on both sides in a solid. There are some really lovely textured rayons around there, and maybe that could work for you if you want something extra special with your fabric. Rayon tends to want to slide and stretch and deform very easily, so definitely for sure stay stitch the back of your neckline. Also on the front you have a short slanted area and then it goes straight down, so make sure you stay stitch this first. And I highly suggest you hand baste your band onto all the neckline. It is a pretty long band and it can start sort of twisting and turning a little bit if you just use pins. So I would definitely just go the extra mile and hand baste that to make sure it turns out sewn really evenly without it twisting and getting puckers or anything like that. I made my robe's short sleeves, which is really easy. It's not part of the official options because the robe was meant for colder weather, but you could for sure make it in something really light like a rayon and just chop it off shorter through your hem and hem it. Easy peasy. The Vivace can be a top, a tunic or a dress, and you could for sure make this one in rayon. I haven't made it in rayon, but I've made it in chiffon, and if you can make it in chiffon, you can make it in rayon for sure. I've also made it in a really lightweight crepe that could sort of equate to the feel of rayon, so you can definitely be done with lightweight woven fabrics that are really flowy and drapey. If you want to make it easier for yourself, then choose a contrasting fabric for your overlap V neckline pieces. There is a feature on the center where you have little corners. All of that area for sure will be better if you stabilize with a really thin strip of non-stretch interfacing right there to keep those corners really structured, to keep these corners really stable when you need to snip in there and pivot and all those things. So definitely consider those extra techniques. You're using lightweight rayon. That is the way I have sewn mine and it's worked really well. The other thing you need to be really careful about is your front piece. The Vivace is wider here on the front and you form a pleat, and that needs to be super accurate in the way that that pleat is formed because it's going to affect the total width here and then how you're going to sew that overlap V collar. Make sure that your fold of your fabric is exactly at the fold. Also for your collar pieces, as always, block fuse. Block fuse is the best way that you're going to get a really accurate result, and you're going to get collar pieces that are going to be the exact same size you need them to be for them to fit into this area. The woven Vivace has a cuff that you sew and you fold up. So sometimes cuffs with rayon can be super floppy. So I would sew that down in that seam, and up here on the top I would give it some invisible hand tucking to keep it in place. Otherwise, when you're walking around and doing your life with your cuff, it could end up just flopping over and looking really messy. Things to consider when you're sewing with rayon and you have little features like these cuffs. They tend to hold up better with cotton, with linen, even linen rayon blend. That sort of material will hold up much better than 100% rayon will. But you can still sew them, just tuck it down, keep it down there so it doesn't fall over. The Melody Dolman has been one of my favorites. I've made it, I don't know, 7-8 times, I don't know, I've lost count, and I've used so many types of woven fabrics for it. I have made it in a rayon linen blend also in black, super nice. What I would change with the Melody Dolman to sew it with a rayon is create a separate facing for that camp collar. This one has an integrated facing, which means you have a fold here in the center front and not a seam. I would just cut out my pattern there, right there where that fold is supposed to be, and add seam allowance. That means I can block fuse that facing separately. That's going to be the lapel here, and it'll work much better like that in rayon, much easier to do than if you're just trying to fuse a portion of your fabric with that extended facing. So that is something I would do. You don't have to, but I think it gives nice results. Your collar pieces, just block fuse those. You can perfectly make the Melody Dolman with rayon. It's a really good fabric for styles like this that don't have darts and have a dolman sleeve. As you know, part of the way the dolman sleeve fits, you're gonna have some fabric here under the arm. That is expected. You cannot expect a dolman sleeve to fit like this, like a setting sleeve. This has a separate seam right there at the armhole and the sleeve separately. This should fit really smoothly here without extra fabric and things. But your dolman sleeve is just the same piece that's extended. So it'll be nice and flat if you walk around like that, of course, but no one does that. So when you live your life, you are going to have a bit of fabric here. I think that is less noticeable and much more comfortable if you work with really lightweight fabrics like rayon. It's not going to bother you. You won't even see it. Way different than if you try to sew a dolman sleeve with something more structured like a linen or a cotton. It's not that you can't make it in those fabrics, but that feature of the dolman sleeve would be much more noticeable for sure. The dolman sleeve is designed to be worn tied up at the front if you want to. It's long enough for that. If you just untie a few buttons, it looks really cute. But just consider that when you tie that, you might see a part of the wrong side of your fabric. And if you're not happy with that, then just remember that. Keep that at the back of your mind, because rayon tends to have another color on the inside. So it's just one extra thing to think about if you want to use rayon for the melody, and tying it up at the front is something that you really want to do. One of my favorites is the Lyric peplum and dress. So beautiful. I love the style, I love the shaping, the darts, the V neckline, all the sleeve options. It's just a really beautiful design. You can make it in rayon for sure. I have made it in rayon in a beautiful print. I would suggest you wear a slip underneath, because the fabric could be a little bit lightweight. At least for the fabric I chose, I had pretty light colors in there, so I really was concerned that you would be able to see my legs and my undies. So consider using a slip. Also, you don't need to buy one. You can make yourself a slip with the Luna Loungewear Collection nitty, which is like a cami but longer. I've made myself a slip. I've made 2 slips with that pattern and it works amazing. You can make one and just wear that underneath your lightweight dresses and you'll be perfectly fine, and you don't need to think about lining or doing any of those things. With the Lyric, it's got a nice V neckline. It's really important that you stay stitch these areas so you don't end up with gaping. It's finished with bias tape inside. It could be really easy for you to just take your bias tape and start pinning along, and it be stretching out as you pin along, and then you end up with this really deep V that's gaping and just not looking right. So be careful. It does have a sleeveless option. I would also stay stitch the armholes if I was going to do that. Stay stitched directionally in the same way for both sides, from the shoulder down to your arm, and you'll be fine. Rayon is really great for these types of skirts that have a little bit more volume. This one is a little bit more than an A-line skirt for one of the options, and you have the option of a gathered skirt also. So the gathers, don't worry about gathers. Don't think it will make you look bulky. It won't. Rayon is perfect for that. One thing I would avoid from the lyric is the patch pocket option. If I were making it in rayon, I wouldn't put that there because patch pockets in rayon can be super floppy and it could sort of weigh the skirt down. It's up to you. You need to think about that. It won't be sturdy enough to hold things. Like if you want to put weighty things in your pockets, it'll just sag and it's just not a great fabric for patch pockets in my opinion. With the lyric, you have all these sleeve options that would look amazing with rayon, like the butterfly sleeves here, super pretty. It's going to drape beautifully. You also have a longer sleeve with a little flounce, would also look amazing. A longer bishop sleeve with gathers here. Great, just great features to use with rayon. And actually, I don't use those features with structured fabrics at all. I always keep my fabrics light and flowy when there are features like that in a pattern. Usually Love Notions has a lot of options for you with sleeves. Rayon, perfect, there's no way to go wrong if you want these really delicate details like these special sleeves, you know. The Sonata dress has been designed to work with a lot of woven fabrics, even quilting cotton, linen, something structured could work also. Rayon could also work. I've made a navy blue back with orange and beige flowers that was a sort of heavier type of rayon, but still 100% rayon, super beautiful. I didn't top stitch that facing. I didn't think it was going to add to the fabric, but you can if you want to. The important thing is that you need to block fuse that facing and stabilize that neckline. I seem like a broken record, but if you can tell, stabilizing is really important with rayon and block fusing facings also. As with any fabric, but really important with rayon because rayon tends to shrink a lot with heat. If you're ironing and doing all those things, you could end up with tiny facings that don't fit your neckline. And the neckline of the Sonata is so beautiful like that with that feature there. It's just simply amazing. The Sonata has a wider waist at the back that has elastic into a casing. So again, rayon is perfect for that. Those gathers aren't going to add bulk. They're just going to drape and fall and look amazing. Same as an A-line skirt. A-line skirt is going to look so nice in a flowy fabric. If you make it in a cotton or a linen, of course, it would look great also, but it would just hang out and look really A-lined. Maybe you want that. Maybe you don't. I tend to want things to just flow closer to the body, usually. You also have some sleeve options here that are going to be super pretty, like the flutter sleeves and the bishop sleeves. They will look great. All mine have been sleeveless because I'm just a sleeveless person, but the sleeve options are great and they would look amazing in rayon. The harmony top is so beautiful. It's perfect for rayon. It's got that swing style that would look bulky and boxy if you made it with a structured fabric. But if you make it in rayon, it will just flow and look amazing. It's really well drafted. There's a standard and a full bust option, so you have a really nice well-fitting top here, while then at the waist and hips it will just flow and swing. Perfect for lightweight fabrics. I would not make it in anything heavy or structured at all. For the harmony, you also finish the neckline, and if you're making sleeveless versions, you finish that with bias tape. Super important to stabilize that neckline to avoid gaping. And with this one, you also have a type of flowy, flutter, type of flouncy sleeve also that would look amazing. Love that. One hack I did with the harmony that turned out amazing was to take out the bust dart and swing the volume over to the neckline. So the volume for the bust was coming from here. And with rayon, that turned out amazing. I did that with a rayon linen blend. Again, it's only 14% linen, and the gathers coming up from here with this type of rayon fabric is amazing. I would not do that type of feature with a cotton or a linen. It would just look really bulky and it just would not make sense. But with rayon, these features like neckline gathers always turn out super beautiful. The next one is the Cadence, and I'm actually wearing one right now. This is 100% rayon. I made this one last year, and let me show you if you can see. I have pin tucks. This is a hack I made, and it's a beautiful feature to add to rayon. It works out really nicely. Look at that, it's amazing. And look at this drape. Even though the pin tucks add a little extra volume here and a little bit more ease, it still looks really nice because it's rayon. I wouldn't do this with cotton or linen, then this would just puff up and just give me more volume at the stomach. The Cadence is being updated and retested from scratch. It's going to include the full size range, a standard bust and a full bust option. And just as a little secret, because you watch my channel, this will be re-released this Friday. And you know what Fridays are, Love Notions, right? You know the price point. So just keep that information at the back of your mind when you're shopping during the sale. Maybe leave your Cadence shopping for Friday, just saying. So the Cadence will work with a bunch of woven styles. I've lost count count how many times I've made the Cadence for my mum, and I've usually used embroidery and glaze, 100% cotton. It could also work in rayon, so I think rayon and Cadence can be really good friends. Inside, the neckline is finished with facings. Block fuse those, stay stitch your necklines, you'll be really good. One little detail about the Cadence, and it's a feature I haven't yet sewn, is that apart from doing a scoop neckline, there is a little V there that you can cut out of your facing and your main front. So it would look like this, plus a little V right there. If you want to try that feature, maybe don't make it with rayon, because rayon is really lightweight and drapey, and probably that would just end up falling like this and not looking like it should. Just take that into account. Maybe you want to make that little V and have it fall open like that. It's up to you. The Presto Tunic is a pattern that's a little bit more involved. It can be as involved as you want, because there are waist studs that are optional. You can just leave them out. If you don't want to do the banded collar, you can finish the neckline with bias tape. So there are ways that you can make it less involved, or you can just use all the features. I have made this in 100% rayon. I've made it for my mum in a really beautiful embroidered rayon. Super nice and slippery to work with, but still possible. I've made one for myself, and I used the pin tuck option like I used with the Cadence. I did all this center front insert with the pin tucks. So similar to the Vivace dolman, you will have an area here that has corners. I would stabilize all these corners with little tiny strips of interfacing to make sure that doesn't stretch out and grow, so that then your insert can fit, your button placket, all that needs to be interfaced. So there's a lot of things you need to be aware of. I have covered all those things in the video of this pattern, of course. I also have a video on the channel showing you how to sew banded collars, which this style has. There's someone that's hammering nails somewhere, if you can hear that. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry. The last top and dress I want to mention is the famous Rhapsody. Again, I've made this, I don't know, 8-9 times, I don't know. I have made one in rayon now that I remember. It's a navy one. I'll always be putting images of all my makes here, but I have actually made it one in rayon for sure, and I had a great experience. I actually have a video on the Love Notions YouTube channel that shows you how to sew this whole neckline in really good detail. I will link that down below as well. On my channel, I also have a lot of videos on the Rhapsody, so much to see. You know, if you're new to the channel, you have more than 500 videos to enjoy. Also, this one has a rounded neckline with a little V. So this little V, if you just leave the bias tape that finishes the neckline open, this could sort of fall open and you could see the wrong side of your fabric, which in rayon tends to be a lighter tone. So if that bothers you, just tie it up and make yourself a little bow there, and then that will be fine. Super important to stay stitch the neckline. For the Rhapsody, you have yoke pieces at the back. So make sure you stay stitch both layers of the neckline at the back, and also this area here so that it doesn't stretch out and deform. You're sewing sleeveless, also stay stitch that armhole so it doesn't deform and you end up with gaping here. Now the Rhapsody has about 8 types of sleeves. A lot of those involve flounces and gathers, wider volumes here with cuffs. I mean, you can do a lot with this pattern, and all of these features are going to be amazing in rayon. They're just going to look really pretty. Now the pants. Love Notions has 4 pants that are designed for woven fabrics. Love Notions has the glissando trousers and the duet trousers, but I would not make those with rayon fabric. They do need more of a bottom weight that needs to be more structured. They are more fitted designs, so I would not try to make those with rayon at all. I would want to have at least 3 to 4 inches of positive ease at the hips. This fabric is not a strong fabric that is going to hold up to pressure when you sit down. So you can have a lot of ease when you're walking, but when you're sitting, the ease becomes a little less. And when you bend down and move in the crotch area, you know, you could end up ripping these seams really easily, or the fabric just stretching there at the seams, and then you end up with little holes. So I would really want the pants to not be tight or fitted. Now I would make the Allegro bottoms with 100% rayon for sure. There is enough ease, the leg is not too fitted, and the best feature is that it's pull up, so that's perfect. I would do that. I would make them with a rayon. I would suggest you stay stitch the waist area of your pants. As soon as you cut them, just stay stitch that. They are in a little bit of an angle. They could stretch out and not match your waistband when you're trying to sew the waistband on. So to avoid that, stay stitch around and then you'll be fine. Now, rayon is really wrinkly, and if that really disturbs you, I have a trick. Just use a background of your print that is dark, like navy or black, with a little bit of print here and there. That will really disguise the wrinkles that you'll get on the back when you sit down, because you will get wrinkles. There's no way to avoid that. The Allegro bottoms also have a skirt version, and I have made one in 100% rayon, super light and drapey. I did modify the hem because the hem is slightly curved. I added a bit of a high-low type of ruffle, lots of gathers there, and gathers are perfect with rayon. I would not have done this hack with any other fabric than rayon. It's perfect, super floaty. The other pant that I think would be great with rayon are the summer key pants. These are beautiful, the wide leg flowy palazzo pants. There's a wide leg and an even wider leg option, and so you really do want flowy fabrics for this style. I have made one in a linen rayon blend. I really wouldn't want to make it in 100% linen or cotton because it would be too stiff and it would just poke out too much. But my linen rayon blend had 45% rayon, and it still had this lovely drape while still being semi-structured. So I would make it in 100% rayon for sure. Just make sure to block fuse your front waistband, which is curved. The back waistband is not curved. It's got a really interesting sewing technique, and I do have it on the channel. For sure, stay stitch the waist area of your pant legs before you do anything, so it doesn't grow and not fit your waistband. That's something to really consider. Just let me rip up my bag here. So disclaimer, I buy locally in Brazil. There are online shops here. You can't buy them from out of the country. You have to have like a Brazilian ID even to complete the checkout. So I can't give you links for my fabrics, unfortunately, but look at how they send you fabrics. So beautiful. They always send you swatches with the code at the back, so that's really helpful because sometimes I've seen some of these on the site and I don't know how they feel. Like this one here is a linen rayon blend, so it gives you a good idea of how these fabrics feel. If you want to buy them, it's easy to find. I think it's great service. I'm really happy. Anyway, I have how many here to show you? 1, 2, 3. I have 5. All of them are lightweight 100% rayon with the simple weave. There's no rayon crepe or rayon twill or any of that. It's just your basic rayon in beautiful prints. Look at this black background with some red and white flowers. This is so beautiful. The print is sort of medium size to large size. I would use this for a dress for sure. It would be amazing as a tempo dress. It's just so lovely. The drape is amazing. And this is what I say about the wrong side being a lighter tone. So whenever there are features where you could see that, if that really disturbs you, then use another type of fabric or make a feature of the pattern that won't show the wrong side of the fabric. So that is the first one. These two are the same type of print in a different colorway. I always hop onto red background. Look at this. So it's got some green, it's got a tiny bit of yellow. Yellow isn't my favorite. It doesn't go with my skin at all. But if it's a tiny detail amongst red, then it doesn't really matter. Red is the predominant color here for me, and red is really my color. Look at this. I mean, I don't know, it really suits me and my personality, and the way I feel in red is just amazing. I also have shoes and a handbag in teal. Anyway, I just love it so much, and this is so beautiful. I would make a lyric dress with this. I think it would be really stunning. I have 2 meters from all these fabrics, so I'm sure I can get all these patterns I mentioned from the 2 meters. Sometimes I have small amounts left, and that's when I would make a harmony that's sleeveless or a cadence that's sleeveless. Those are the ones that take up the least amount of fabric and that I can make with smaller leftover pieces. And I never mind having different garments made up in the same fabric. Now this is the same but in a different colorway, and this is just a really bright green. Look at this. It's like green and I love it. It's so pretty. It's got some violet, same type of print flowers, but the main color is just so summery, so happy. You know what I'd make with this? Because I don't have many fabrics that go with this like other clothes, but I do have black swimsuits. I would make a composed robe out of rayon, and it be like a pool or beach cover-up type of thing.
And it would be really striking, really appropriate for being out in the water with this striking color.
This is the wrong side, that is the right side. It's not dramatically different. So I would be great and perfectly happy with a robe. I wouldn't make it a robe, I would make it like a pool cover-up. Maybe add some little extra detail like a waist casing or something to make it a little bit more different, but using the composed robe as a base. Now the next ones are also the same types of fabrics in different colorways. One has a blue background, one has a black background, because those are my favorites. So this is a more smaller print. It's got those little red flowers, which I think stand out the most when you see it from far away. I would make an aria shirt with this one. The aria shirt isn't included in the site-wide sale, by the way, but it was just recently released. I could see this as an aria and wearing it with jeans or a denim skirt. That would look amazing. I could also make a Presto tunic and lengthen the sleeves. And you know what I'd do? I'd make the Presto tunic. I just lengthen the sleeve, because the longest there is a 3/4. I just make it longer. And because it's wide there, I would sort of mash the bottom of the aria shirt dress sleeve onto that and then have a cuff and do the placket. I would do all that. That would be amazing. Now, this is the last one I had to show you. It's the same, but it's just black. So from far away, it basically looks more black with tiny specks of red. The other little flowers with other little colors, you can't really see that much. What I would like to make with this one is a Cadence dress. So the Cadence can be a top, a knee length, or a maxi. I would never make the maxi. I would make the shift style dress. Maybe add the waist casing. But this would be a really nice style that is pretty simple, that I would feel amazing in, and I would just spice it up with some red shoes and a red handbag. It would be perfect and really light and airy for the summer. Maybe I would put sleeves. I probably wouldn't. But yeah, that would be my pairing for that one. Now, if rayon seems really daunting to you, don't worry, I'm gonna have an amazing video on how to sew with rayon. It's gonna be so complete. It's gonna include every little thing in there, so that next time you get your rayons out of your collection, you'll be really confident to get a really nice result. So keep your eyes open for that one. I love making videos like that, and they're general videos that could be a really good resource. So we will go into depth about rayon very soon, so please subscribe, turn on all your notifications so you don't miss out. I have my affiliate link down in the description box, of course. All the patterns I'm mentioning, all the resources I have will be linked down there also. If you do use my link to purchase, I make commission from that, and that supports the work that I do here on the channel. That's all from me today. Have a great day, and I'll see you again very soon. Bye.